All right, mistake number 3 is falling into what I'm going to call the high intensity trap. Now, just so we're all on the same page, coaches tend to break up cardio into one of 2 categories. There's low intensity steady state cardio, often abbreviated as LISS or MISS if it's moderate intensity. And that's when you do cardio at a steady pace, like walking on an incline treadmill or Stairmaster. High intensity interval training, or HIIT, is when you go all out at a high exertion for 20 to 30 seconds or so, then go at a light pace for 2 to 3 minutes, and then repeat that for usually 5 or
Now, HIIT is the sexy form of cardio, or it's the exotic kind. And that's what people love to talk about. The LISS stuff seems so boring. Oh, I'm just walking the treadmill. I'm just riding the bicycle. I'm going for a slow jog, just walking around. But slow and steady wins the race. And which one do you think you're more likely to not quit doing? The LISS. It's a lot harder to go week after week, month after month doing HIIT, right? You're going to get tired of that. There's a good chance. Now, good to mix it up. Or maybe you're one of those kind of people who love doing it. But it is not superior to LISS. I've said on other shows, we've seen the science. It's not superior to it. And you can definitely go wrong with it. You can do too much, you could hurt yourself, or what have you. So
6 intervals. Now, a lot of people seem to think that HIIT is more effective at burning fat because of the so-called caloric afterburn effect. And while the afterburn effect certainly is real, you will burn more calories after high-intensity exercise than after low-intensity exercise, I still think its practical relevance for fat loss has been overblown. One study showed that even after 80 minutes of high-intensity cardio at 80% max heart rate, only an additional 80 calories were burned from that.
Say what? So your workout fee, how much hour your workout fee? 80 minutes at 80% as hard as your ass can go. And all you get is 80 calories. What is 80 calories? A couple sips of something, a nibble of something else? You're really gonna bust your ass in the gym for 80 calories extra? You must be crazy. You must be crazy. Hell no.
Afterburn effect. And a more recent systematic review stated that the afterburn effect is unlikely to account for any apparent greater fat loss potential. But even if we put the afterburn idea aside, HIIT still has the appeal of being more time efficient, since you can burn the same number of calories in as much as 40% of the time commitment. Another upside of HIIT is that some people do find it to be less boring, and I do think that's a perfectly sensible reason to use it. However, while the time efficiency and enjoyability of HIIT can count as upsides, the biggest downside is that it does tend to interfere with weight training more and takes longer to recover from. You could also argue that HIIT is more redundant since
that's another key point. If you go for an easy jog, ride a bicycle, walk, whatever, you wake up the next morning, you can do that again. You go hard on the HIIT, you'll feel it. You walk on the Stairmaster at an easy pace, whatever is easy for you, you can do that again next day. You crush it on the Stairmaster, you'll feel it. Just walking up your stairs, getting out of the bed, getting out of a chair, you'll be like, ow, 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 ooh, ah, ah, ah. Yeah, exactly. Killing your gains, man. So, I mean, if you're a dude and you want muscles, that's just killing your gains. If you're a lady, you want to tighten up that booty, tone up those legs, you need to lift weights to do that. I don't know what to tell you. The easiest way to get that.
Weight training and HIIT are actually quite similar physiologically. With typical moderate to high rep weight training, you go at a high exertion for 20 to 30 seconds, rest for 2 or 3 minutes, go at a high exertion again for another 20 to 30 seconds, and repeat. So some experts have said that you already get most of the benefits of HIIT.
Add insult to injury. And this is really true for legs. You feel like crazy ass burn when you're doing leg extensions. Doesn't matter how light you want to go, you can still get a burn from leg extensions. So certain exercises, time on the tension, that's how long it takes you to do the set, 20 to 30 minutes. That is actually similar to HIIT, and that's what they're pointing out here.
Through weight training. I'm not sure I completely agree with that. In my experience, HIIT does increase heart rate more and present a greater cardiovascular challenge than typical weight training, but it does still knock the unique value of HIIT down a few notches. So if you are going to use HIIT, you should use it more sparingly. And in my decade of coaching experience, because of its higher recovery demand, I rarely prescribe HIIT sessions more than once or twice a week, and often only if the client prefers it. Okay, so mistake number 4 is doing too much cardio overall. Even if we do everything else right in terms of timing and intensity, it is still possible to do too much cardio. Now, to give us some idea on this, let's take a look at the results of this NSCA meta-analysis on the interference effect. When it came to cardio frequency, they noticed a drop-off in hypertrophy around the 3 to 4 day per week zone. Although, to be clear, the correlation wasn't that strong, so while this is a trend to be aware of, it isn't like your muscle is going to melt away if you do cardio more than 3 or 4 times a week. They also showed negative correlations between hypertrophy, strength, and power, and the length of endurance exercise per day, with more interference seen the higher you get above 30 minutes per day. Still, we shouldn't look at this frequency and volume data in a vacuum.
So, basically there's diminishing returns. You don't want to go crazy on the cardio. That's the other thing. Just 20 to 30 minutes, or even just 20 minutes a day can make a difference, especially if you're consistent with it. It's all about consistency. If you do 60 minutes a day, 3 times a week for a month, and then you stop, that other person who's doing 20 minutes a day, a couple times a week for 6 months, they're going to look better. They're going to have a more dramatic change, most likely. All things being equal, if it's the same physique, etc.
Because taking your dog for a walk isn't comparable to running suicide sprints. And so what I recommend for cardio will be highly individual and depend on the type of cardio you're doing. And I'll break all that down here in a minute. First, let's quickly cover mistake number 5, which is banking on fasted cardio for extra fat loss. Now, the bottom line with fasted cardio is that just because you will burn more fat during the session itself doesn't mean that you'll lose more fat overall.
That's a key thing. Just because you burn more fat during the session doesn't mean you burn more fat overall. It's a very common misconception. People just think fasted cardio is superior. What it comes down to is which one is more convenient for you. You can wake up in the morning and just go do your cardio, get it out of the way before you have breakfast. Go for it. If you wake up and eat breakfast and then do cardio, or eat several meals and do cardio at lunch or after work, after school, whatever, it's no difference. And this is the science, not my opinion, because everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but you're not entitled to your own facts. So while you might feel that fasted cardio works better, the science doesn't agree with you. Sorry to burst your bubble.
In fact, this 2011 study found that when you burn more fat during a cardio session, you burn less fat over the next 24 hours.
Ouch. Human body, man. Your body keeps betraying you, man. It's like, what? We burn more fat during that workout? We're going to burn less fat later on. We're not sure what this guy or this lady's up to, so we're going to keep things under control. We're just going to slow down that fat loss.
And this systematic review found that performing exercise in a fasted state did not influence weight loss or changes in lean and fat mass, and that a meaningful caloric deficit is more important than exercising in fasted or fed states. However, recently a review paper from Escalante and Barakat looked at the research on fasted cardio in the context of competitive physique athletes, so people trying to get to very low levels of body fat. And while they once again acknowledge that there is no conclusive evidence on the superiority of fasted cardio, they do point out that research on physique competitors hasn't been performed, and leave the question of whether or not it might be beneficial in the final stages of fat loss open. They also suggest that protein-enhanced cardio, where you consume about 25 grams of protein beforehand, might have a slight edge in some advanced cases. Still, I think that for the most part, you should simply do your cardio at a time when you can stick to it the best, whether that means you're doing it fasted or fed. Okay.
That's the key thing. Whatever time works for you, convenience-wise. Picking up the kids or before to pick up the kids, whatever works best that you can consistently do it. Again, that word. Consistently. That's the word.
So what are my practical recommendations? Well, when it comes to volume, I suggest including cardio as needed to keep up with your desired pace of fat loss. Generally, losing about 0.5 to 1% of your body weight per week is a good range. If you're able to do this with weight training and diet alone, then you don't need to do any cardio. Still, I almost always include at least some.
You heard what he said. If you're lifting weights and dietaries and you're losing weight, you don't need cardio. You might want to save the cardio for later, unless you're talking like health reasons. You don't need to overdo it. Don't overdo it. Because you are determined to transform your body, you made it to the end of this video. To get more tips about how to look great and feel even better, check out one of these videos you see on the screen. I'm sure you'll enjoy them. So later's my massive. Me a go long now. For those who don't speak Jamaican patois, that's goodbye, my people.